All right, good afternoon, Dan. It's March the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Good, good. So before we get started, let's shout out Athena Protection. Tell people how they can get in touch with us.
Well, first, you can get in touch with us on any social media platform at Athena Protection Service. You can reach us on our 1-800 number at 800-951-4866. It's 1-800-951-4866. Or you can reach us on our website at athenaprotections.com.
All right, all right. And we got a sponsor. We always have to shout out our sponsor.
Absolutely. Our sponsor is Athena Protection Foundation. And the foundation, you can reach us on social media platforms at Athena Protection Foundation, or you can reach us on the website at athenaprotectionfnd.org. Also, there will be a wine tasting event coming up on the 22nd to raise money for crime victims. And that will be right at the St. Julian, right in front of Oakland Mall.
Right there on 14 Mile and 75, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's not actually in the mall.
No, not in the mall. It's in the parking lot of the mall, and it'll be from 1 p.m. to 7.
Hey, that sounds like a great event. Folks, make sure you get out there and check us out, do some wine tasting. They'll have some wine available to purchase. And as you said, this is a fundraiser, so a percentage of the proceeds will go to the foundation. And our foundation, without going into a bunch of detail, the foundation helps victims of violent crimes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that is a good thing for the community, most definitely. And right now, obviously, we have so many concerns as a community, and I'm sure we're going to get into that a little bit. But, Dan went over how you can get in contact with us. He talked about our social media sites. Just make sure you're hitting that like button and sharing as well. We need as many people as possible getting involved with our, as we like to say, our fundraising goals, as well as our efforts that we want to put out there in the community to help those victims of violent crimes in the Metro Detroit area.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dan, I know we going through a lot right now as a community.
We are.
What you want to talk about this afternoon, man?
Man, we could talk about plenty. I mean, I guess we should go over a little bit of this coronavirus that's going around. We should at least touch on that a little bit about what's been going on, what we experiencing, and how it's been out, at work or in the street.
I got to tell you, man, I'm just thinking back to, what was it, probably about a month ago when we were looking at footage of China and how empty the streets were. And I'm going to be honest with you, man, for me personally, I was looking at that like, it was interesting to me, but my head was in the sand on this one.
Right.
I really didn't think that this was going to affect us in the way that it's affecting us now.
Right.
And I'm sure, be honest, I don't think we are anywhere near the plateau it is. There's a lot more to come.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. I was at my son's high school basketball tournament on Wednesday. Great game, by the way. They took out a rival they fight against every year. Give a shout out to Warren Woods Tower going up against Cosno this past Wednesday, and actually defeating them in a game. Huge rivalry between Warren schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have never thought going from Wednesday, just fast forward into Friday, game canceled. Well, let me back up. The game went from, they said only legal guardians or parents could attend, 2 per player on the team could attend the game. And they went from that to, as we now know, that school was canceled and all sporting events canceled in the state of Michigan. And of course, when we back up and talk about the NBA and pretty much every sport, with the exception of NASCAR, and I think I seen some bowling on TV the other day. People were rooting for it.
Oh.
I feel like I got caught with my pants down, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be this serious here in the States. And we went from 2 victims on, I think, Monday or Tuesday, infected with that virus, last count. And, for those of you listening, forgive me if my information is off, But my last check, we were at over 25 affected individuals here in Michigan, just from Monday to now Saturday afternoon. So obviously this thing is, far from being over.
Mm-hmm.
So, give me a little bit about what you thinking about this situation.
Man, we seeing people being forced to work from home, not just the kids, but everybody at home.
Right.
And I'm thinking it's kind of giving us an opportunity to slow down a little bit.
Absolutely.
And, kind of check, what we doing with ourselves, with our lives and things like that. Last time we kind of talked about, not in relation to this, we kind of talked about being prepared.
Exactly.
And we talked about picking up a few things. I didn't anticipate there being a run on toilet paper and, the cleaning supplies and all the things that's happening. I mean, the stores are completely empty right now of a lot of things that people need. So, I mean, people out there, if you don't need 3 and 4 packs of toilet paper, if you ain't got that many people in your house, don't buy everything up.
It's funny you say that, just to chime in there, man. It's my son and I, as you know, I talk about Junior a lot on the podcast. It's the two of us in the house, and I was down to about 4 rolls of TP in the house.
That's dangerous.
And I'm going to be honest, 4 rolls of TP for 2 men in the house.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're very clean individuals,
right.
I like to say. But 4 rolls of TP, and they the double rolls. Yeah. Man, that's about 2 months worth of tissue for us.
4 rolls?
Yeah, man, 4 rolls. I know that's hard to believe.
Okay.
But I was fortunate enough to pick up a 18-pack.
Yeah.
And I feel comfortable in saying I should be good to about end of summer.
All right. That's good, man. But it's people out there. They got a lot of people in their houses.
Absolutely.
There's people that work and they rely on their money every week. So if you went in there and you bought everything up and they got to wait till they get paid and it's all gone, you're doing the community a disservice by, it's one thing about being prepared. It's another thing to price gouge and, get everything off the shelves and take advantage of people. I don't think people should be doing that.
Right. Right now, I think the biggest concern is people have no clue as to how severe this situation is. So I think there's a little bit of nervousness. People are really scared and not knowing what they should and shouldn't do. But like you said, let's just kind of go back over some things we may have talked about in the past, just in general, things that you need to do in the event of an emergency. And I know we briefly talked about just trying to make sure that you have, obviously, the essentials in your home. But let's just kind of go over that list if you can and talk about some of the basic things that, we should be doing right now over and beyond the virus, because we're not experts. We don't want anybody out there to think that we're experts. So if you're out there listening to us,
not claiming to be experts either.
Our hundreds and millions of followers out there, let's just kind of talk about, you and I, let's just talk about some things that I think will be some good ideas moving forward, because, yes, you want to get toilet paper and paper towel, but let's talk about some things that you should be doing in your home right now.
Basically,
in your opinion.
I think people should keep clean. Make sure you keep your hands clean, your surfaces. Make sure your house is clean. Make sure you get the windows open and let some fresh air circulate into your house.
Man, it's so funny you say that, Dan. I like to be transparent on the show, so
that's good.
I early this morning, when I say early, I'm talking about 4:30 a.m. this morning.
That's pretty early.
Yes, about 4:30. I don't know if I was still asleep or if I was awake, but I was just thinking about exactly what you're talking about keeping your house clean. And when we say clean, we're not suggesting that anybody out there is just nasty, but really, you hit right on it. Opening the windows and letting fresh air in, doing some severe dusting.
Yeah, disinfecting your door handles, light switches, things of that nature.
Exactly.
Just some regular weekend house cleaning that should be done.
Right. Turn on your favorite music, turn it up loud, roll your sleeves up and get at it. I know for a fact, I know your mother personally.
Yeah.
For people out there that don't know, we are family.
Yeah.
And so, I think about those Saturday mornings waking up to, that music. I'm
Right.
be honest with you, I hated it because I knew
yeah.
that I was getting ready to have to roll my sleeves up. We didn't sleep in on
Oh no.
Saturday.
For a couple hours.
We had to get up and start cleaning. It was a good breakfast on Saturday, but that was always cleaning day. And I know for a fact that your mom was heavy on that, but you hit the nail right on the head. Get your house in order, clean. This is a great opportunity. We're going into the springtime, but, the kids are out of school. For those of you that have kids that are school age, this opportunity for the older kids. When I say older, I'm gonna be honest. I'm talking about eight and above.
Right.
They need to have a daily routine of what they need to be doing because we need to keep those young people's mind creative. If they haven't gotten a syllabus from the schools before they let them out on Friday with this 3 to 4 week break that they're going to be at. I know in my community, kids are out of school until actually April the 16th, including school, the spring break that was supposed to start right when the governor said kids should be going back to school. So keeping their minds active, but also giving them something to do on a daily basis. This is not a time for us to just sit back and get fat and lazy.
Right.
We are diligent people. I feel like we need to really, take advantage of the opportunities to, like you say, get your house in order. I'm talking about a serious deep cleaning from top to bottom. We need to make sure that we're disinfecting, get all your laundry cleaned, clean your bedding, your bathrooms, like you said, any surfaces that you may be touching, take advantage of getting those clean and just keeping a positive attitude because I'm telling you, it is, I don't think we're anywhere near the peak of what we're going to experience with this pandemic.
Yeah, we in bad shape. And I wouldn't say bad shape, but I just think that we need to be cautious about how we moving forward because this is the beginning and it's the unknown.
Right.
So, it could get better or it could not get better. So I think we just need to be prepared, for whatever may come. And in that preparedness, what I wanted to go over today was the importance of having wills and living wills.
Man,
because when we talk about security is about preparation and being ready. And the living will is something that I think people need to have, which is somebody knowing what your medical wishes are. If in the event you are unable to make those decisions on your own, there's somebody you have dedicated that can make those decisions for you.
Okay.
For instance, do you want to be on life support? Do you want certain treatments? Do you want a blood transfusion? Things like that. Those are the kind of things that people should know prior to you being incapacitated and not being able to answer those questions on your own. So even if you write it out yourself or have a formal document from a hospital where they kind of lay it out for you and what the answer should be, I think people should start thinking about having those kind of things prepared or letting somebody know what their wishes are.
And that's so important, man. We come from a huge family. We talk about that all the time. We even talked about in our last foundation meeting. That is so key, making sure that your family members, the people close to you, understand and know what your final wishes are. And it's a tough topic because we don't like to talk about it. We don't like to think about that, but we owe it to ourselves and to our family members because how many times have we had somebody and, last year, 2019, we thought it was tough.
Right.
We personally dealt with some, some loss of people very close to us, your sister passing away.
Right.
Our uncle, his partner of many years passed away. Just recently, one of my brother's close friends passed away in 2020. We obviously know that we lost Kobe Bryant. So, we have to be more and I don't want to say the word maybe smart, but just more open and having these discussions, like you say,
Right.
what do we want done? Because too many times we lose somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and we have family in disarray,
Right.
and everybody is, trying to claim or say one thing or another, and
Right.
too many times in our community specifically,
Mm-hmm.
that we've had huge disagreements as family members,
Right.
and even people not talking to one another after we went through a loss because it wasn't clear on what that person who we lost
Right.
final wishes was. So
And
great point.
yeah, no one knows wishes. It eliminates that dispute
Absolutely.
where we know, do they want life support or not? Because when somebody is, making those decisions and you don't know what they want, you'll leave them on forever just so they hear. You know
Right.
what I mean? And they may not want that.
Exactly.
Or if they go brain dead, they may not want that. They may want to be let go. And you have to know and understand to let them go. And a lot of time it's hard for us to let people go, but knowing their wishes, it'll be a little bit easier to make those decisions.
Absolutely. And like you say, having those, I used to love the Cosby Show because they used to have family meetings.
Right.
And it sounds corny, but we owe it to our immediate family that
Right.
we need to do those things. If you're fortunate enough to have your parents still alive,
Mm-hmm.
sit down and have those conversations. What do they want? And unfortunately, in today's society, and I know as a parent, and parents say this all the time, the worst thing ever is to have to bury a child. So even having those conversations, not only about your parents,
Right.
but about your wishes.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that when we think about it, we don't like to talk about those things, but we got to be transparent in these times.
Right.
I just can't express enough. As I started out, I really had my head in the sand on this.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at it over in China was where I first experienced the coronavirus as far as media coverage, and just seeing the streets empty, the
Right.
arenas empty, and just, I'm gonna be honest, my ass was like, hey, we the United States. We don't have to worry about that.
Right.
And guess what? We got to worry about that.
We do.
Yeah, so, but continue on. We talked about, making a living will, communicating,
Right.
What things you want done. What are some other things you think would
I mean,
be some good?
besides the living will, you want a regular will so that people know where your assets go.
Absolutely. So key.
So if you have property or money or whatever the case may be, so there's not a fight with the state, have something in place and have somebody, an executor, over that will, so that things, or who do you want to taking care of your kids, all those kind of decisions
Wow.
that go into effect once you pass away.
Absolutely.
You want to make sure you got those things in place so that the state is not making these decisions, or you didn't change the paperwork and you got a husband that you no longer with making those decisions and he collecting all the money. So make sure, your paperwork is in order. Make sure you got your will in place. If you have a life insurance, make sure the people on your life insurance is updated. Make sure it's not an ex and somebody you're not with, or somebody you fell out with. Make sure you don't have those people collecting money and doing things against your wishes.
Right, because I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you a quick story. Just in my many experiences and many endeavors that I've dove into, people know me. I'm always on the move. I don't. One of our cousins said to me, she said, "Carl, you don't let no grass grow under your feet." Basically, and I always remember her saying that to me. But with that being said, having some experience in life insurance. So many cases of people being, married or whatever in a situation, and the wife has an insurance policy on the husband, vice versa. And, fast forward a few years down the road, they end up not being together, and the policy, the wife still has a policy on the husband. And there's been situations where that husband's moved on, started a new family, kids, the whole nine, you know how it goes. And unfortunately, when that man, moves on or leaves us, leaves our bodies and go to that next place, that ex gets an insurance or has an insurance policy, which is totally legal. And, because he moved into that new relationship with that young woman and all that good stuff, maybe even have a family, he got some kids now in their 20s, and now you got a 2-year-old and young kids, and all of a sudden something unfortunately happens to you, and you got that ex that got that $1 million policy on you, and people think that it's so wrong,
right?
And it's not. Legally, unless you make those changes like you're talking about with those beneficiaries, it can happen,
right?
And it's totally legal. So don't have your head in the sand again. I think the buzzword today is the head in the sand.
Right.
How many of us truly have our head in the sand on these important topics?
Right. And again, this is about being prepared, if something take place. So what's your opinion on term life versus whole life insurance?
That's a great topic. So, it's been a while since I've been involved in it, but the term policies obviously have a tenure on them, 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever the amount of years it is on them, which is the whole life policies tend to have the opportunity for you to be able to pull money out as needed, and you're kind of paying yourself back. So people have their opinions on that. But I'll be honest with you, as you get older, I think the term life policies tend to benefit you a little bit better. If you're 50 years old and you got a 30-year term life policy, as a male, we typically don't live as long as women.
Right.
Just be honest, and having those term life policies where, they have expiration date on them versus the whole life policies. But, not being an expert on either one of those are things that you want to talk to, the experts on and find out which one you think would be the most beneficial to you. But I'll be honest, in our community, we don't think about insurance policies in general. And I just remember in my younger days, being out here in the, the work environment and meeting many different people and some of our other cultures, someone will pass away and I'll be like, man, they passed away on Monday and the funeral was on Friday and it was done.
Right.
In our community, somebody passed away and we got to try to collect some money. We got to get, a GoFundMe account and all of these things because we weren't prepared for the loss.
Let me say this. GoFundMe is not life insurance.
Exactly.
Which is why you should buy life insurance and be prepared. GoFundMe is not life insurance.
Exactly.
I mean, we rely on it way too much. And we've as a family have had to do that before,
and that's why I bring it up.
When my cousin Billy died, because he didn't have life insurance, and we didn't have.
And he was a young man. How old was he at the time?
We might have been 40,
right?
Which is young. And died in a car accident, and we didn't have the money. So but that's not life insurance, which is why you should be prepared. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to get a term life policy or a whole life policy. I think the term is probably the better option.
Okay.
Because over a 20 or 30-year span, you should have made and saved enough money, if you're responsible with your money, to where you have it set aside to cover your expenses.
Absolutely.
In the event, that you pass away after that 20 or 30 years is up. So... and I went to the Dave Ramsey School, and I listened to what he had to say in his Financial Peace University, and he preaches on the term policy and making sure that you save that money over that time and you have it available, so that you're not relying on a life insurance policy after the term is up.
Exactly.
So but then paying that whole time after a certain amount of time, you're kind of wasting money if you had the cash on hand. So
right.
With that being said, with somebody that I don't know him, but knowing that he's good with money and he teaches that course, he recommends that term policy.
Right. But again, we're not the
Right.
experts. These are suggestions. If you're not sure whether a term or whole life policy is going to be the best for you based off of your age, man, do your research. If you haven't learned nothing in the last 7 days, know that it's important for you to do your research and understand a little bit better as to what you need to do and what type of things you need to put in place for family members. And this is not something where we're trying to press the panic button. But the panic button's been pressed.
Right.
And this is a time where, I feel as a whole, we're going to make it through this. We're going to be okay. And not just because of my belief in a higher power, but just because based off of what we've seen through this pandemic with other countries, we are going to make it through this. And hopefully, as we move forward in this conversation, they will talk a little bit about, who's truly at risk here, because the coronavirus, getting it is not just a death sentence.
Right.
We know that there's things that can be done. If someone unfortunately gets it, but we do know the older you are, or due to medical conditions, it can be a little bit more of a challenge, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Right.
But these are things that we're trying to cover today, where aside from the current pandemic, just things we need to do as a community, as a people, we need to do a better job. So, great topic.
And also saving money, which is a hard one for a lot of us. A lot of us.
We feel like we live in day to day. So, how do you save money? For those of you that are out there trying to figure out how to do that, it's funny. I've talked to some people right now. The stock market, may not necessarily be the best way, but I know a lot of the banks are giving you opportunities. It's almost like the Christmas fund. And you and I talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. People used to, back in the day, used to put a couple of dollars away every month. So come Christmas time, because we know Christmas comes the same time every year on the same day. I'll never know Christmas not being on December 25th every year. So when you talk about putting money away, elaborate on that a little bit.
I mean, learn how to save and learn how to be responsible, with your money. And that means everybody may not be able to save 10%, but I would say to start with small goals.
Absolutely.
So if you want to save, I would say try to save $100 first.
Okay.
And then once you save one, then move that goal up to $250. Then move it up to $500, and then maybe move it up to $1,000. Learning how to save money and be responsible with your money will help improve, your financial situation overall.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times we deal with a lot of bad credit. And when we have bad credit, that means we have higher interest on everything, and we end up paying way more money for stuff than we should.
Man, so true.
It create I want to say, almost a worse situation if you poor and you have bad credit. You end up spending way more money than people with more money than you. So I think it's important that we start being responsible with our money and learning how to save and getting our credit in order. Now, we got a question, is a correlation between the virus and politics? I don't know that.
Okay.
Now, we did see the picture that there's a global, some kind of global virus or issue every 2 years that happened to be election year. We saw it. Everybody saw it online.
Absolutely. And I'm sure conspiracy theorists will say that with the election coming up, that a lot of this is based off of that. And, we're not a politician. I will just say that it's a learning experience. When we think back into, the 1930s and the recession, and I know for a fact our grandparents learned a lot from that. And right now we need to just really focus on, okay, this modern time, there's a lot going on. What can we learn from this? And like you said, learning how to save. I don't care if it's, people say they can't save. I mean, I'm gonna just break it down to you. You and I,
Right.
and I'm gonna put you on the spot here. You did a great job of assessing your monthly expenditures
Yeah. Yeah.
in your household,
Yep.
and just taking a reality check of what you're spending money on
Yeah.
versus what you need to be spending money on. And
For transparency
talk about that a
purposes,
little
we
bit.
ran through $500 eating out in 1 month, and I mean that's
$500.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner, different times.
So you talk about going to
Yeah.
McDonald's versus
Yeah.
making breakfast at home.
Right. So just make breakfast at home, make lunch, take to work, eat dinner at home with each other. That'll bring some closeness to the family.
Absolutely.
Y'all having that time to sit down and eat together, talk together.
Which is so
If work permits,
Right.
if people got schedules, but having that time together is important.
Excuse me.
But if not, then at least you have a home cooked meal, and you're not eating out every day, and it'll save you a ton of money. So and we have a habit of making a way for the things that we like.
Oh,
So
for sure.
for people, if you like cigarettes, you'll make a way to spend $7 for how many ever days a week you buy a pack of cigarettes, or if
Man.
you like to smoke weed, people will make a way for them to have what they want. Or if you drink,
Man, I tell you.
play games, whatever your vice is that you like to do, people make a way for those things. So if it's important for you to make a way to save your money as well, so that you are prepared for situations like this, because we in a situation with the market where you can get some good prices on stock. If you want to invest and increase your income or your wealth, it's a good time to buy some stuff.
And so many times when we talk about things like that, investing it and putting your money into, a particular stock or, those things, we're in 2020. The amount of access to research is unbelievable. But I just really want to press home that assessing your weekly or your monthly expenditures, because so many times people say, hey man, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and again, there's probably a lot of people that are, but when we look at what we spend our money on, I mean, if you don't have a particular bank account that'll afford you the ability to be able to set up and see, what you spend your money on,
Right.
take a little bit of extra time. Instead of being on social media, take a little bit of extra time and set up where you can track what you're spending money on. Because again, that was an eye-opening experience for you, personally, looking at what you spend money on. And the average person, if you just think about, hey, okay, Monday through Friday I go to work, or whatever your schedule is.
Right.
I'll stop and grab breakfast on the way to work from the local restaurant and get my coffee, and then I also have to go to lunch while I'm at work.
Right.
And what I spend on, and payday come around, that day you usually probably spend double
Yeah, 'cause
what you
you're gonna
normally
eat
would
good.
spill on lunch, because hey, I get it, you work,
Right.
you want to
Yeah.
take advantage of it. And we're not talking about going out and just starving yourself, but let's really look at what we're spending our money on. Take that extra couple of minutes and look at, what you get every week or every 2 weeks, however you get paid. What your bills are. Let's be smart out there and really educate ourselves.
Right.
Because this pandemic that we're going through now with this virus is, yes, it's serious, but this is opportunity for people to really, truly change the way they do things. I like to laugh because one of my friends / family members talked about the oatmeal at McDonald's.
Right.
Love that oatmeal. I want to say, I hate even giving McDonald's credit because I don't have any stock in McDonald's, but talk about how they...
Get you some.
Hey, yes. Hey, you better believe it. But just talked about grabbing, that in the morning. And I know for a fact this at least $2, if
Right.
not $2.50. And it's just one quick example.
Right.
So we know that if you spending $2, we're just quick numbers here. Correct me if my math is wrong. So if you're spending $2 every morning, you go to work 5 days a week,
Yep.
that's $10 on breakfast, right?
Yep.
I know for a fact that you can get a 10-pack of that oatmeal from your local grocery store. In most cases, if you go with the grocery store brand, for about $1.50 for 10 packs. and you're spending $10 a month, or I'm sorry, a week on that for the 1-pack. So again, you're spending $10 versus $1.50 to get it. That's a savings of, I mean, some quick math there. We're talking about a savings of $8.50 just on your breakfast. I like to stop at a local coffee joint from now and then and grab me a cup of Joe, as we like to say, and I'll spend $2.07 exactly is what it costs for me to get a large cup of coffee. I'll just say it's a Canadian-based company that sells coffee. Vicious is TH.
Oh, okay.
They ain't paying us, so I ain't gonna give them no credit on our show.
I'm with you.
But I got me one of those little 1-cup instant coffee makers, and I bought 48 cups of coffee for $15.
Damn.
So just in a week, like I said, 5 days in a week, I'm spending $10 and some change on coffee for this 1 cup of Joe. So again, great opportunity to make some savings. We're not saying that you can't enjoy life. People like to say, I work hard. I have my vices, whether it's, like we said, whether it's eating out, it's having you a drink, buying your medical marijuana or just your recreational marijuana, whatever. We're not saying you can't do those things, but how can we be smarter as consumers out here?
Right.
Because we see now with the way things are going with this epidemic out there in society.
Yeah.
And it's an open experience. We can save some money. And don't just save that money. Yes, you need to have some cash on hand for emergencies. We talked about that before. In the event you can't get there. And before we get to the end of the show, we want to also make sure we talk about some things you need to be doing right now for this current epidemic.
Right. Yeah, cash on hand is good. Because, what if we can't get to the bank?
What if we have is, and I just think back to Katrina in Louisiana and when, they were in that situation where they just didn't know what to do. You had police officers like, I'm not going to do my job as a civil servant because my number one priority is taking care of my family in a disaster, that we experienced back during that time. Something as simple as if you are a firearm, owner, we talk about and I apologize if I'm off on this. We talk about like, for example, a pig will be what you consider to be go rogue and go wild. It's like 7 days without eating that it'll turn into a wild animal. I mean, like the fangs will start, the teeth will start growing differently and everything. They'll metamorphose into something totally different.
Damn.
Without food in that short of amount of time. And we know that us as human beings, I'm not saying we're going to turn into werewolves or anything like that, but
we cleaning stores out already.
If you've been into a local store in the last, I'm going to just say last 3 days, man, and you see the way the shelves are looking and you see the way people, as I said earlier, I saw 2 guys fighting over a 12-pack of toilet tissue and they were ready to go to the death for it.
D-Web say somebody reaching in other carts.
Oh yeah, these guys, that's what it was. The guy turned his head and the guy took the TP right out of his cart.
Oh man.
And it was just, hey, are you big and bad enough to take it back from me? Was the attitude of the 2 guys. So
wow.
It's very wild out there. But my point is, we as a community, it happens fast. And it can happen really fast. The president, I won't get into details on government and politics and all that at this point because I don't feel like that's really the important part of it.
Right.
But just, going into the grocery store. I went to the grocery store Thursday evening after 8 p.m. and the governor got on TV and announced that they were closing schools. So I went back to the store Friday morning And I'm gonna tell you, my goal was, hey, I need to make sure I have perishable items in my house.
Right.
I need to really, focus on making sure I'm prepared just for,
Mm-hmm.
if nothing else, you know, we know school's going to be out for at least 3 to 4 weeks. How do we even maneuver through that and have things that we need, the essentials?
Mm-hmm.
And then what if the government, which, is Saturday, by Monday, they may say, hey, you know what? We're shutting everything down. Unless you absolutely need to be on the streets, we need you to just stay in your homes. We
Right.
know if that happens,
Mm-hmm.
now you got panic.
Right.
So, just briefly talk about some other things that you can do to be prepared for this as far as protecting your home. Unfortunately, it could happen. Do you have proper ammunition? So,
I would say have enough ammunition. If you don't already have it, go get you some. If you have an alarm, make sure you set your alarm in the
absolutely.
house. If you home, set your stay alarm.
Absolutely. And it's
Um,
funny you say that because I
yeah.
set my alarm now 24/7, whether I'm home or not.
Right.
When I'm in the house, I set that perimeter, and I'm teaching my son to do the same thing. Set that perimeter so you can be prepared because
Right.
it can happen fast, man. And we're not trying to scare our listeners out there. We're just trying to really prepare you for what can possibly happen. And we really want you to just be safe and heave. And we'll do kind of a summary on what we talked about here in a moment because we're getting to the end of the show. But can you think of anything else?
Be mindful of where you're getting your information from. Again,
Oh,
social
wow.
media
That's so true.
is just a pit of misinformation and
Never
just
mind our current government giving out
something,
misinformation.
just not necessarily where you want to get some facts from. So, I mean, make sure if you're getting your information from somewhere, it's from a very reputable source, CDC, or if you like your information off social media, make sure it's from somebody with proper credentials that know what they're talking about.
And that's so important, man. You hit the nail right on the head there. We get information and we run with it. Do your research. Don't just listen to what you heard in the grocery store. Or, because I just heard someone saying that the casinos were closed. Not that I care about a casino right now. I don't know why anyone would be concerned with that. But hey,
Some people make their living in there.
right. It's people that work in the casinos. So I don't want to minimize
Right.
how people get paid.
Yeah. Or the
just
gamblers.
the gamblers and even the workers, with all of the sports being frozen right now, how many people work in those arenas and depend on those opportunities. Hell, the St. Patrick's Day parade being canceled, we say, okay, it's canceled. But guess what? The companies and the bars that prepare for that, they've already went and spent thousands of dollars
Right.
getting ready for this. And now, it's canceled, so the livelihood, people are starting to panic. I have my 9 to 5. I unfortunately have to go out there and deal with the public on a day-to-day basis in their homes.
Right.
So how is that gonna, pan out over the next few days? But again, this is a topic we could talk about all day.
Right.
But we're getting to the end of our show.
Okay.
So just to summarize, we talked about the preparedness for this. We hit on things you can do in your home. Talking about cleaning your home, making sure that your environment is as sterile as possible. You can't control that. We talked about making sure that you're stocking up on non-perishable items in your home, making sure that you have things where in the event that you can't get out for, even if it's only a week or 2 weeks, still try to take advantage of those. Yes, you want TP, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's the big concern. I think you need to make sure you got food and you can protect your family and your loved ones in an event that, this, the way we live electronically, to have cash on hand.
Right.
Protect yourself and your family. Have proper ammunition for weapons. Those are all the things that are important. But if nothing else, a learning lesson from all of this is preparing yourself and your family in the event that something happens to, loved ones. How do we move forward? Again, we talked about whole life versus term insurance. Do your research, people. We're not the experts, but those are things. And I know these are tough topics, and we don't like to talk about them. But get together,
talk about them.
Get together as a family and have these conversations about what you feel, or not feel. Excuse me, what you want in the event that there is untimely death in the family.
Right.
We can't stress that enough.
If you go into a coma, who making your choices? Who making your decisions?
So get together with the people in your family, have these conversations. Preferably, if you can, get together. If y'all can, use this smartphone to be able to have, video conferencing or whatever. If you're not comfortable getting together, but your immediate friends and family need to know what your final wishes are. We can't stress that enough. And I know it's so many more things that we could talk about, but, we ran out of time today. So for our listeners who chimed in today, thank you so much for chiming in and listening to us. But just one more time, Dan, if you tell the people how they can get in touch with us.
You can reach us on our 1-800 number at 800-951-4866 on all social media platforms at Athena Protection Service, or our website at athenaprotections.com.
And just one last time, we want to shout out our foundation, which is also our sponsor.
Right, that's Athena Protection Foundation, which you can also reach on all social media platforms at Athena Protection Foundation or Athena Protection FND. That's athenaprotectionfnd.org.
And one last quick thing, we have a fundraiser on March the 22nd.
Yes, sir. St. Julian Winery at 14 Mile and 75 from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m.
So any purchases that are made at that time, we will get a portion of those sales. So please come out. I know y'all like to have a drink every now and then. Please come out and support. And as always, we love our listeners. Keep on giving us ideas on what we can talk about to educate our listeners. And again, man, I wish we had more time to talk about this, but please out there, be safe, folks, and make sure, again, I can't express it enough, make sure that you have a plan in place in the unfortunate event that something happens to you. But we're out of time today. Dan, thank you for your insights. Always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Well, thank you.
And to our listeners, please continue to listen to us. Hit that like button as well as that share button on our social media platforms, and continue to be safe out there, everyone. We'll see you next week, hopefully.
All right.